Ava Thompson. The day my husband handed me divorce papers, I was standing in our kitchen in Seattle, Washington, barefoot, holding a positive pregnancy test he never got to see. He didn't even sit down. "I'm done, Ava," Ethan said, dropping the envelope on the marble counter like it was a grocery receipt. "This isn't working anymore." 5 years of marriage. Reduced to one sentence. Outside, it was raining, the kind of cold, gray Seattle rain that seeps into your bones. Inside, I felt nothing at first. Just a strange ringing in my ears. I looked at the envelope. My name was typed neatly across the front. Ava Thompson. Soon to be Ava Carter again. "I gave up my career for you," I said quietly. Ethan adjusted his Rolex, the one he bought after his company hit its first major valuation milestone. The company I helped him build from our tiny apartment when we couldn't even afford proper furniture. "And I appreciated that," he replied, his tone polished, distant. "Corporate. But people grow apart." People grow apart. That's what he called trading your wife for a younger marketing executive named Chloe. I had seen the signs for months: late-night strategy meetings, sudden gym memberships, a new cologne he never wore for me. But I ignored it, because that's what loyal wives do. We ignore the cracks and call it weather damage. "I'm keeping the house," he added. "My lawyer already arranged everything. You'll get a settlement." A settlement. Like I was an employee being laid off. What he didn't know, what he couldn't possibly know, was that the house, the company, the polished image he worshipped, none of it impressed me. Because I didn't marry Ethan for money. I was born around it. I just never told him. You see, my father believed in one rule. If they love you for your last name, they don't deserve your first. So when I met Ethan at a coffee shop near Pike Place Market, I never mentioned that my last name carried weight in rooms he hadn't even stepped into yet. I let him believe I was just a marketing consultant trying to find our way in the city. And for a while, I believed in us. But standing there in that kitchen, holding the secret of a child growing inside me while he casually dismantled our life, something inside me shifted. It wasn't heartbreak. It was clarity. "Does she know you're still married?" I asked calmly. Ethan's jaw tightened. "This isn't about Chloe." Of course it wasn't. Men like him never think it's about the other woman. It's about their ego, their upgrade, their next headline. He slid the papers closer to me. "Just sign, Ava. Let's not make this messy." Messy. I almost laughed. Do you think I should have told him about the baby right then? Or would you have stayed silent too? Because in that moment, I made a decision that would change everything. I placed the pregnancy test back into my pocket. "I'll sign," I said softly. Relief flashed across his face, so quickly it almost hurt to see. He thought he had won. What he didn't realize was that he had just handed me something far more valuable than our marriage. Freedom. And leverage. You see, Ethan's precious tech startup, Carter Innovations, was about to enter its most critical funding round. Investors. Boards. Public image. And there are certain truths that, when revealed at the right time, can cost a man more than love ever could. I signed the papers that afternoon. But I didn't cry. Instead, I called my father for the first time in 2 years. "Dad," I said when he answered. There was a pause on the other end of the line, long enough for him to know something serious had happened. "I think it's time." Silence. Then his calm, measured voice replied, "Are you sure, Ava?" I looked around the kitchen that Ethan thought he owned. "Yes," I whispered. "I'm sure." And somewhere across the country, wheels that Ethan didn't even know existed quietly began to turn. He wanted a clean break. He was about to get a lesson in consequences. And I hadn't even told him the biggest secret yet. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. Seattle was still quiet, wrapped in that soft gray light that makes everything feel suspended in time. Ethan had already moved into a downtown condo near his office. Temporary, he said. Efficient. Efficient. That word used to impress me. I made coffee in a kitchen that legally still belonged to both of us for exactly 12 more days. That's how long it would take for the divorce to finalize uncontested. Uncontested. He really thought I wouldn't contest anything. My phone buzzed at 7:12 a.m. "Dad, I've spoken to my team. he said without greeting. Carter Innovations is vulnerable. I walked to the window, staring at the mist hovering over the sound. How vulnerable? There's a bridge loan keeping them afloat until Series C closes. If that funding hesitates, even slightly, the board will panic. I closed my eyes. Ethan had told me that bridge loan was secured. Guaranteed, he'd said proudly. But in business, guaranteed usually means temporary. What are you going to do? I asked. A small pause. We won't do anything unethical, Dad replied. But we may accelerate conversations that were already happening. Conversations. I knew what that meant. My father didn't destroy companies. He acquired them. And when he acquired something, he reshaped it. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt steady. Later that week, I met my attorney in Bellevue. Unlike Ethan's polished corporate lawyer, mine specialized in quiet leverage. She reviewed the agreement carefully. He's offering you more than required, she noted. That usually means he wants speed. He does. Why? Because there was someone else waiting. Because public image mattered. Because timing mattered. But I simply said, he's impatient.
She studied me.
Are you planning something, Ava? I held her gaze. I'm planning to protect myself. That wasn't a lie. Meanwhile, Ethan's face started appearing in business blogs again. Interviews about innovation,
Growth.
vision. He looked confident,
Charismatic.
single. By Friday, I received a message from Chloe. Not words, just a photo. Her hand resting on Ethan's chest at what looked like a rooftop event in downtown Seattle. Champagne glasses, city lights. I stared at the image for a long time, not because it hurt, but because of how carefully it was framed. She wanted me to react. I didn't. Instead, I forwarded it to my attorney. Documentation, I wrote. That evening, Dad called again. The lead investor for Series C requested an additional review, he said casually. I leaned back on my couch. The one Ethan said was too sentimental to keep. And they're reconsidering valuation. A slow breath left my lungs. Is that because of you? Indirectly. That was my father's specialty. Indirect influence. Over the next few days, small cracks began forming. A tech blog questioned Carter Innovations' rapid expansion strategy. An anonymous post surfaced discussing internal instability. Stock options discussion stalled. Nothing dramatic. Just pressure. Pressure that Ethan would feel, but not understand. On Monday morning, he called me for the first time since the papers were signed. Have you heard anything? He asked abruptly. About what? Our funding round. I kept my voice neutral.
No.
Why? There was tension in his breathing. Some investors are getting cautious. I'm sure you'll handle it, I said softly. Silence. Ava, this wouldn't have anything to do with your father, would it? There it was. He had never met my father in a boardroom setting, but he knew enough to wonder. My father? I repeated gently. Why would he care about your company? Another pause. I don't know, Ethan muttered. Forget it. After he hung up, I placed a hand over my stomach. The nausea had started that week. Reality was settling in. I had choices to make. Not just about revenge, but about the life growing inside me. By Wednesday, Carter Innovations' bridge lender requested revised projections. By Thursday, 2 board members scheduled an emergency strategy session. And on Friday afternoon, Dad sent me a single text. It's moving faster than expected. I stared at the screen. Faster meant risk. Faster meant exposure. Faster meant Ethan would soon realize this wasn't random market turbulence. That night, as rain tapped against the windows again, I opened the folder containing our finalized divorce decree. Legally separated. Emotionally severed. Strategically positioned. Ethan wanted freedom, but freedom has a price. And he was about to learn exactly how expensive it could be. He still didn't know about the baby. And he definitely didn't know who was quietly positioning themselves to sit at the head of his boardroom table. But he was about to find out. The board meeting was scheduled for Tuesday morning in downtown Seattle. I wasn't supposed to be anywhere near that building anymore. Yet at 8:45 a.m., I walked into the glass lobby of Carter Innovations wearing a navy coat and the calmest expression I'd worn in weeks. No one stopped me. Divorce papers don't erase 5 years of being the founder's wife. Receptionists still smiled. Assistants still nodded. They didn't know the ownership structure had quietly shifted over the past 72 hours. Dad hadn't attacked Ethan's company. He had offered stability. When the lead investor hesitated, one of Dad's private equity arms stepped in, not publicly, not dramatically, but decisively. Contingent convertible debt. Board seat included. Temporary, of course. Temporary can be permanent when executed properly. I wasn't in the boardroom when it started, but I was invited in halfway through. That was deliberate. The elevator ride to the 32nd floor felt longer than my entire marriage. When the doors opened, I saw Ethan through the glass walls before he saw me. His posture was rigid. The confidence he wore in interviews was gone. One of the board members noticed me first. "Miss Thompson," he said evenly. "Thank you for coming." Ethan turned. The confusion on his face was almost painful. "What is she doing here?" he demanded. I stepped inside calmly. "I'm representing a new majority interest holder." Silence fell over the room like a dropped curtain. Ethan laughed once, sharp, disbelieving. "This isn't funny." "No," I agreed softly. "It isn't." One of the board members cleared his throat. "As of this morning, the restructuring agreement places interim control with." "My father," Ethan interrupted, his voice rising. "You're telling me her father owns my company?" "Not owns," I corrected gently. "Controls." The distinction mattered. Ethan's eyes locked onto mine. "You planned this."
Did I?
"I planned to protect myself. I planned to ensure my child would never depend on a man who measured love in valuation rounds. What happened in that room wasn't sabotage. It was business. Your expansion was over-leveraged, Ethan. Your bridge financing was fragile. Your board was nervous. All we did was offer them certainty." The chairman spoke again. "Effective immediately, strategic oversight will be shared."
Shared.
That word tasted almost poetic. 5 years ago, I had shared everything with Ethan. Now he would learn what that actually meant. After the meeting, he cornered me in the hallway. His composure cracked for the first time since the divorce papers hit my kitchen counter. "You think this makes you powerful?" he hissed. I held his gaze steadily.
No.
"I think it makes me safe." "You're ruining me." I almost smiled.
No, Ethan.
"I'm preventing you from ruining yourself." For a moment, I saw it, the flicker of realization. This wasn't chaos. This was controlled, measured, legal,
strategic.
"You could have told me who your father was," he said bitterly. "You could have stayed loyal," I replied. That silenced him. Outside the building, the Seattle wind was sharp against my face. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt tired. Because revenge, when done correctly, doesn't feel explosive. It feels surgical. That afternoon, financial media began reporting a major strategic investor stepping in to stabilize Carter Innovations. Ethan's name was still attached, but the power dynamic had shifted. He called me again that night. His voice was different. Not angry, uncertain. "Is this how it's going to be?" he asked. "How is that?" "You controlling my future." I closed my eyes. "I'm not controlling your future, Ethan. I'm protecting mine." There was a long pause. And then he said something that almost broke my composure. "Are you seeing someone else?" I let out a quiet breath.
No.
He didn't know the real reason my priorities had changed. He didn't know that every decision I was making now had a heartbeat attached to it. Later that evening, I had my first ultrasound appointment scheduled in a private clinic in Bellevue. I went alone. When I heard that faint, rapid heartbeat for the first time, something inside me shifted again. This wasn't about Ethan anymore. This was about legacy, stability, protection, and choices. As I walked out of the clinic, my phone buzzed. A notification from a business news alert. Carter Innovations CEO faces board oversight amid funding turbulence. Oversight. Such a polite word. Ethan had wanted freedom. Now he had supervision. And he still didn't know the most important truth of all. Because when he finally finds out why I'm really doing this, it won't just shake his company. It will change every decision he thought he had already made. 3 days later, Ethan showed up at my door. Not at the house. At my new apartment overlooking Lake Union, the one I quietly leased the same week the divorce finalized. He looked different. Not weaker. Just unsettled. "I need to talk to you," he said. I stepped aside and let him in. This time he sat down. That was new. "The board is pushing for operational transparency," he began. "Your father's firm wants monthly reviews. They're questioning expansion. They're slowing everything down." "That's called governance," I replied calmly.
His jaw tightened.
"They're treating me like I'm replaceable." I held his gaze. "No one is irreplaceable, Ethan." Silence filled the room. Then he said it. "Why are you really doing this?" There it was. Not anger. Not ego. A real question. I took a slow breath. "Because when you handed me divorce papers, you assumed I would collapse. You assumed I would take a settlement and disappear quietly." He didn't interrupt. "You underestimated me." "That's not." "It is," I said gently but firmly. "You thought you were the architect of our life. You forgot who helped you build it." His eyes shifted. For the first time since I met him at that coffee shop near Pike Place Market, he looked unsure of himself. "I never meant to hurt you," he said quietly. I believed him. That was the tragic part. He hadn't meant to hurt me. He just valued ambition more than loyalty. And then I decided it was time. "There's something else," I said. His posture straightened slightly. I placed the ultrasound photo on the coffee table between us. He stared at it. Confusion first. Then recognition. Then something else entirely. "Ava," his voice cracked just slightly. "Is this?" "Yes." The room felt smaller suddenly. "You're pregnant," he whispered. I nodded. "How long have you known?" "Since the day you handed me the papers." He leaned back slowly, processing. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I needed to know whether I was protecting a marriage or protecting a child." That landed. Hard. His hands moved through his hair, a gesture I had seen during funding crises and product failures. But this was different. "You are going to raise my child without telling me?" he asked. "I was going to raise my child in stability," I corrected. "With or without you." Silence stretched between us. Then something shifted in his expression. Not panic. Not control. Responsibility. "I want to be involved," he said quietly. "This isn't about wanting," I replied. "It's about showing up." "I can show up." "Can you?" I asked softly. "Even if your company struggles? Even if you're not on magazine covers? Even if the spotlight moves on?" He didn't answer immediately. And that told me everything. "I won't keep you from your child," I continued. "But I will set boundaries." His eyes met mine again. "What kind of boundaries?" "The kind that protect peace." Over the next few weeks, the board restructuring continued. Carter Innovations stabilized. Expansion plans were revised. Spending tightened. Ethan remained CEO, but not unchecked. Accountability changed him. Or maybe it revealed who he could have been all along. We began meeting with a family attorney to outline co-parenting agreements before the baby arrived. No drama. No public scandal. Just structure. The media eventually lost interest in the oversight story. Markets moved on. They always do. One evening, months later, Ethan stood beside me at the edge of Lake Union. The sunset painted the water gold. "I thought success meant control," he admitted quietly. "And now?" I asked. "Now I think it means responsibility."
Growth.
Real growth. Not the kind measured in valuations. The kind measured in choices. I didn't destroy him. I didn't take his company. I didn't expose him publicly. I did something far more powerful. I made sure he understood that loyalty is not weakness. That underestimating a woman can cost you influence. And that freedom without integrity is just isolation. When our daughter was born, Ethan was there. Not as the man who handed me divorce papers, but as a father learning humility.
And as for me?
I never needed revenge. I needed balance. He wanted a clean break. Instead, he got a permanent reminder that the woman he underestimated was the strongest investment he ever had. And this time, he finally knew it.